All right, good evening, everyone. Earthmaster here checking in on this Friday night. Yes, well, Saturday morning, I guess, early Saturday morning for some of you folks out there in the different time zones. I am out here on the West Coast here in California. It's November 18th, 2019, 11:03 p.m. my time. As mentioned here in California, taking a look at the live earthquake 3D stream. Also, some data coming in from a couple different seismograph stations around the globe here. Just to name a few, got Yellowstone up here, and also station there in Fiji, station also in New Zealand. We're monitoring the San Andreas fault system near Hollister, California, which is just south of the Bay Area, and also monitoring the Ridgecrest, California area there in China Lake, where a two-pointer, that's just a two-pointer if you can believe it, showing up on the seismograph station there. That two-pointer pretty much right underneath the seismic monitoring device that they have down there. So that's why it's shown up rather nicely. We are going to take a look at the earthquake 3D globe first, and well, we're going to see exactly what's going on out here worldwide. A whole bunch of earthquake activity to talk about. Nothing on the major scale, but there's definitely some interesting activity occurring. Let's see if I can pop this up here. I'm not for sure what's going on with that. I'm not for sure what's going on. It just never fails. It's one of those interesting nights, right? But it's a good night to stay inside and just chillax a little bit. Zooming in here, this is the last 24 hours of earthquake activity. I am going to raise up the magnitude roughly to about, I like to keep it at about 4.0 and above, somewhere around that time stamp or magnitude, I should say. And we'll go back here a couple days and take a look at the activity that's occurring out there, get a better idea. Well, actually, we can go down just a little bit more. Let's add a couple threes in there as well, about mid-3 magnitude earthquakes. Over the last couple days there, you can see quite a bit of activity out here in the Pacific Ring of Fire. Of course, a lot of activity over there around the Philippines Island region, where they had a pretty good sized earthquake there a couple days ago. Some aftershock and adjustment activity occurring there in that plate boundary. Also, just to the south of that Philippines Island region, we're seeing a cluster of quakes there. Let's see exactly where this is at. 4.7 can give me a pretty good idea right around the Indonesia region as well. Seeing some cluster of quakes, and that's might be an area to watch here. It might just be it could just be associated with what's going on up here around the Philippines Island region. It is a pretty good distance there, not a huge distance, but yeah, there's definitely a little bit of distance there, so we'll have to keep an eye on that region there for further earthquake activity. A couple deep earthquakes out here in Fiji Islands region, and also here just south of Japan. That's this 4.6 off the coast of Japan to the south here. These rings indicate depth as well as magnitude and date. If they're raised off the globe, such as this one down here, this 4.9 here, I should say. Is that 4.9? Let me take a look here. Well, one of these earthquakes down here in Fiji. Anyway, if they're raised off the globe, that's indicating a deeper type earthquake. Now, if they are white, I guess, white indicating more recent earthquakes, that's the color of the rings. Also, the most recent is going to be this green flag up here in the Alaska region, which we're going to talk about here in just a couple minutes. Older earthquake activity is indicated by the red color rings and also the light red rings. Quite the cluster of quakes up here. Nothing major up here in northern Alaska, although looks like they had a 5.3 there, and quite a few others. This is just showing, like I said, 3.5 and above. They had over the last couple days 5.3 and a 5.2, also followed up, like I said, by numerous other magnitude earthquakes there. That's interesting activity to watch there, as Alaska is no doubt prone to some major earthquake activity in that region. Some older activity out here, excuse me, along the subduction zone just south of Alaska. A couple of 3s and some 4s down there as well. Taking a look at the west coast region, a little bit of earthquake activity off the coast of Oregon. Also some earthquake activity like we mentioned in the last update video around the Bay Area, and just south of there also some earthquake activity continuing in the Ridgecrest area in Southern California, as mentioned at the start of this video. Further down south here, we're looking at some older earthquake activity indicated by the red and pinkish reddish color rings. So those are just about ready to drop off the globe here. Of course, like I mentioned, this is over the last 3 or 4 days. So technically, if you want to talk about last 24 hours, those will probably drop off. South America region, looking at some 4s and well, some mid 4s down there around the Chile region. Just taking a look at this right now, it looks as though most of the newer activity is confined over here towards the western part of the Pacific Ring of Fire. But you know, it's kind of a mixed bag right now, with the most recent activity up in Alaska and California as well. Just kind of seems like the whole Pacific Plate right now is kind of just unsettled in that matter there. So we're definitely going to keep an eye on it. Taking a look, let's go over here to a different map here real quick. Take a look at this map right here. Something I haven't shown in a little while is the Pacific Northwest slow slip event monitoring system here. Kind of interesting activity. They did redefine their new layout, I guess. There's really no real-time monitoring system with these folks now. The real-time monitoring system that I used to use as far as slippage goes in the Cascadia subduction zone is no longer active. So they redesigned this map, which is a little bit more user-friendly when it comes to checking out specific dates and whatnot over the last week, month, years. So yeah, this here is just over the last week of movement, tremor, right? Slow slip event movement is basically the subduction area that they're monitoring in the Cascadia subduction zone, the Pacific Plate, or the North American Plate with the Juan de Fuca Plate stretching up there along the western part of the country, and of course the Pacific Plate over there to the west, kind of having a play in it as well. A lot of activity up in the state of Washington, stretching through the valleys of Oregon and southern Oregon as well. Also a couple red dots being reported, or a couple tremors I should say, also being reported in parts of northern California at the end of the Sacramento Valley as well, up around Redding, California. So yeah, definitely a lot of movement going on with the Cascadia subduction zone over the last week. Not unusual. You know, we do see this a lot. But you know, you never know. Is this the time that may trigger something? I don't know. But I figured I would bring this map up, which I haven't brought up in quite some time, just to show you guys the activity that's occurring right now in the Pacific Northwest along the Cascadia subduction zone. Last 7 days of earthquake activity, 2.5 and above along the west coast here. Let's see if I can find... okay, there we go. So, there's definitely a lot of activity, folks, along the west coast. Over the last couple days or last week or so, like this map shows, right around the Bay Area. Some activity along a portion of the creeping section of the San Andreas Fault System right there. I think I did an update video on that earthquake activity, and also did an earthquake update video on the Garlock Fault System there, where it's starting to surprise the scientists here. But if you just take a look at this map right here, and you can see, just like I said, 2.5 and above. There's been smaller earthquakes here in California along the west coast, but there's a lot stretching up here from the Gorda Escarpment region off the coast of California all the way down parts of the Bay Area. Not a whole lot of movement along the northern part of the San Andreas Fault System. That's north of San Francisco, extending up into that Mendocino Fault System, that triple junction point up there, right at the end, the edge of the Cascadia subduction zone, the edge of the Juan de Fuca plate up there. So yeah, that's kind of interesting. We don't really see a whole lot of earthquake activity, but it is a plate boundary. It is a plate boundary between the North American plate and the Pacific plate. We haven't seen any major earthquake activity out there in quite some time. So that is definitely, it doesn't seem like anybody wants to talk about that region, but it's definitely capable of producing some significant earthquakes up there. So not highly populated. That's probably why it's not really being talked about too much. But there's some beautiful areas up there, and it's an area that could see, a good-sized quake. So we want to watch that region there, as we haven't seen too much activity. So while we see the rest of the plate boundary, the southern part and parts of the northern part up there, and all parts in between there, between like Ridgecrest and the Garlock Fault Zone and other inland areas east of the San Andreas Fault System are moving. There's other areas that have not shown any type of activity, any type of movement. So a lot of land mass, a lot of friction and pressure and transfer of pressure going on out here along the west coast right now. We did have what was that earthquake here? Let me bring it back here a second here. Hold on. Okay, are you going to cooperate with me today? Hold on a second here. Okay, never mind. I was clicking the wrong one. Okay. Did have a 3.5 earthquake earlier this evening, or earlier today, in Compton, California, down there in the Los Angeles region. So a little bit of shaking going on down there. You can see the dark red line, the San Andreas Fault System right there. Let's zoom in a little bit here, east of Los Angeles, showing a little bit of activity as well. Right around the, what's this area right down here? Palm Springs, just north of Palm Springs region. We got the San Andreas Fault System here. A couple smaller earthquakes, a couple threes there and a two. Nothing major, but definitely some movement and activity going on down there. And hopefully, I forgot to mute my Earthquake 3D bell, so hopefully that thing wasn't going off while I was chatting out here. But it's hold on a second here. It's something to watch out here, folks. You never know when an earthquake's going to hit. I did download this app on my phone. Everyone seemed to be talking about it, so I just kind of wanted to see what it was about. It's called MyShake. It's an app put out. It's the early earthquake warning system put out, and it's pretty cool, I think, especially if you live in earthquake country. Once again, the app, you can download it from the App Store, an iPhone or Google, whichever app you use, or a cell phone you use. It's called MyShake. It's pretty neat. You can have a couple different settings on there. There's actually a sensor, some type of earthquake sensor on your phone that can register vibrations and whatnot. Like right now, as I'm moving my phone around, it kind of looks like my seismograph stations that I have over there on the data stations coming in. So if you set your phone like on the computer right here, like I'm doing, you get a straight line. I guess it monitors movement, earthquake movement. It's kind of cool. Just something to look at, something new. like I say, it's been out for a while. It's the earthquake early warning system. And once again, that app is called My Shake. Other than that, folks, I am going to jump off here for a little bit. Just like I said, wanted to get in here with an update video tonight, and hopefully everyone out there is enjoying their evening. Got a weekend coming up here. It's supposed to be up in the 80s and close to 90 next week here in California. I'm not liking that one bit, but it is what it is, and that's all it is. I just got to go with the flow. So have a good night, everyone. Stay safe out there. Be safe, and always have an earthquake plan. Please, no matter where you're at. Peace out.